Good morning. I just want to say happy Sunday to everyone. Don't know what's going on today. The spirit thing. Being led in my spirit to share my testimony with you. I've shared it with a few people. Haven't shared it with too many. I mean, every now and then, it's not a thing that I just do. Is just share my testimony when I feel like there's a time and I'm being led to do it. I do it. And today's one of those days. I'm feeling like I'm feeling led to share my testimony. Those like I said, some people may have already heard it, but anyway, let me get to the point. Um, oh, and every time I share this, it's like it starts up in me all over again. So just hang with me, please, because it's a spirit thing. But anyway, excuse me. They're happy tears. Don't mistake them because they're tears of joy. Anyway, let me go back to you may have seen on my post in the past about me saying, best day of my life was saved on Super Bowl Sunday, 1998, the whole 9 yards, and it was the best day of my life. And well, that was the day that I got saved, and I'm going to share my testimony about that. Excuse me, I need to pull it together. Oops. Let me pull it together. But anyway, read between the tears, and like I said, I can't reiterate enough that they're tears of joy, and I just feel like I've been led to like share this morning. I don't know what it is, but don't question the spirit. So Super Bowl Sunday, 1998. I was going through a really dark time. I was going through a really dark time. I mean, my son was very behavioral in school. He was just, every day I was at work and they were calling me. You need to come and pick him up. And when I tell you I was at the wits of wits, I was down. I was just wiped and down. I can't even tell you how down I was, but I was wiped. Anyway, long story short, I ended up getting in a car accident, the whole nine. I was just dark. And I'm not a dark person. Those who know me know I'm not dark. I'm not a depressed person. But at that time in my life, back in the 90s, late 90s, it was a lot. I was drained. I was wiped. I felt like I had no hope. I was tired. I just was like, God, I surrender. I mean, just, take me if you want. Never contemplated suicide. It's just, thank God, thank Jesus that it was not my thing. I never thought that, but I wanted to stay in bed. I didn't care if I got up out of the bed. I was tired. I was just so wiped out and tired. So my sister that day had told me, Tina, she started going to church. At that point, I wasn't really in church. Always had a root of church, but at that point in my life, I wasn't. Um, and so my sister had said to me, Tina, excuse me, they're having a healing service tonight. I'm sorry. It's like when I tell this story, it's like I relive it all over again. It's a good feeling. But she said they're having a healing service tonight at the church that I've been going to. She said, "Why don't we take Darius and let them pray over him? You never know." And like I said, at this point, I was tired, so I'm like, whatever. I'll just do anything. So, long story short, I brought Darius to the church that night. My sister came and picked me up. My ex husband was having a Super Bowl party and whatever, and we left and we went to church. So, we're there, and the pastor's praying. And in the middle of him praying, my son shouts out in the middle of the service, "Shut your effing mouth." But instead of saying the F word, he blatantly shouted that word out. So, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So I told my sister, we got to get him out of here. So we drove him all the way home. But my spirit, something kept telling me, come back, come back, come back. So I said, we got to get him out of here, but I got to go back. So she drove me home. We dropped him off. I ran him in the house, told his father, I said, look, you got to take him. I'll explain when I get back, but I got to go back to church. So we went back to the church. And if I can remember correctly, I want to say we hit green lights all the way there. There was no stopping. And, got back into church. The pastor ended up finishing out his service, and at that point, he called up for altar call. And I don't even know if that was my first experience going up for altar call. But anyway, I went up, and my sister had said to the pastor, Pastor Victor Torres, Richmond, Virginia, I'm going to shout you out because you saved me that day. God used you to save me. But my sister had said to Pastor Victor, she said, Pastor Victor, that was my nephew that shouted out. My sister's going through a really hard time with him, and she needs prayer. So I said the prayer of salvation, and he laid hands on me. And there were a couple of people that came behind me and stood behind me as he was laying hands on my head. And all I remember, and for those people who look at that, and I'm sure there is some falseness to it, I'm not saying there's not, but all I can remember is when he laid hands on me and he prayed. I remember falling back on my on my backside, and they laid me down gently on the floor, and I just had like a out of body experience. I just kept saying, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." And it was like God that day filled me up from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head. There was nothing. I felt like the richest person in the world. When I tell you rich, there was no amount of money. There was nothing that was more rewarding than the feeling that I felt. Excuse the whatever I got going on here. But there was nothing more rewarding than the feeling that he gave me. And when I tell you he filled me up, my desires changed after that. I just had and I believe me, I've been all over the map since. I mean, I'm not here to sit and pretend and act like I'm perfect. No one's ever going to be perfect. I will never be perfect. I'm not striving to be perfect. My point with this is just to say, I mean, God, if you're down and you're feeling a little hopeless, it's a dark time out there. Um, just lean on him, man. Just lean on him. And I've had different struggles throughout the journey, of 1998 to date. Different little situations. There's been more hospitalizations. There's been a number of things, but through it all, when I tell you that God, I just know now. I can look back at that and say, whatever. I got this. I got this. I know where I've been. I know what he did for me, and I know He's right there. So, um, I don't even know what I'm going to call it Testimony Sunday. If you got a testimony to share at this point with everything that's going on in the world with the pandemic, I mean, I just think sharing the joy of the Lord is where it's at right now. And maybe my testimony is for this reason. Like I said, I've been very it's not something I share all the time with certain people. It just depends on a conversation that I might be having with somebody, and I feel led to share my testimony, but it doesn't happen often. So here you go. It's out there. Best day of my life ever. Best day of my life was Super Bowl Sunday 1998. I'll never forget it. And I thank you, Jesus, for it. And I just want to say, He's everything. He is everything. He's everything. He's everything. And I just love Him so much. God, I love Him so much. I love Him so, 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 so much. And He's good. That's it. Love you. Love you. I just pray for this world, and I just love Him. Thank you for listening.